Guys, I'm 55 years old now. If you're in your 20s or your 30s, I want to share something with you that I had to learn over the years. And I wish I learned it sooner. And it's this: your 20s are going to decide your 40s, and your 30s are going to decide your 50s. And here's why I say that. Let me just share a few things with you that I had to learn. The first one is this: your friend group determines a lot about your future. Who you decide to be around, hang around, talk to, and spend a lot of time with in your 20s and 30s, that's going to really impact you down the road. It's going to impact your spending. It's going to impact your habits. It's going to impact what you do, what you don't do, what environments you're going to be in, your friends, and the people that you decide, because it's really a decision, right? The people you decide to be around in your 20s and your 30s matter. It impacts your finances. It impacts your life in ways that you couldn't even imagine. Listen, you rarely will outgrow the financial habits of the people that you spend the most time with. The part that nobody told me is that your circle quietly determines and defines your financial ceiling. Now, a second thing that I had to learn, and I should have learned, I wish I learned in my 20s and 30s, is that being too comfortable too soon can add to your stress down the road. Trying to live too comfortable at too young an age can delay some of this financial stability and financial foundation that you really should be building in your 20s and 30s, right? In our 20s and 30s, a lot of us, we're trying to get the next hot stock or the next crypto or the next big thing. But what we really should be doing is building this really strong foundation with money. And what ends up happening for a lot of us is that we end up borrowing our future peace to feel good right now, in the present. Number three is this: sometimes when we're in our 20s and 30s, our lifestyle grows faster than our income. And that's really something that we can control, is letting our lifestyle sort of get out of hand because of, FOMO, fear of missing out, or trying to keep up with the Joneses. What ends up happening is we increase our lifestyle before our income gets there. What we don't see in our 20s and 30s is that income is going to rise. Our income is going to increase. We're not stuck where we are at 27, 32, 35 years old. It may feel like it, but you're not stuck with that income. It's going to go up. So the one thing you can't do in your 20s and 30s is every time you get more money or make more money, increase your lifestyle. Because if you increase your lifestyle, every time you make more money, you're always going to be feeling like you don't have enough and that you're not progressing. So guys, that takes me to the fourth thing that I wish I had learned in my 20s and 30s. And that's this: me personally, maybe not you, but me. Credit cards. Credit cards, they weren't hurting me when I was just swiping them. No big deal, right? But it's the temptation to use the credit card when I didn't really have the money. That's what always got me, right? Oh, I need something for my rental house. I need something. I don't have $20. Let me go ahead and swipe a card. Next thing you know, the balance was $100. Now it's $500. Then the balance went to $2,000 and $3,000. And the balance just kept going up because I wasn't really thinking about, okay, let me slow down this use of credit cards. I wasn't very good with them. And I haven't used a credit card in about 15 years. But when I was in my 20s and 30s, I used them a little bit and I had to step back because I had to kind of learn that the debt that I was putting on the credit cards is just really delayed consequences. There's consequences. Everything you swipe and spend money on with your credit card, you got to pay for. You just delaying it. You kicking the can down the road. So for me, credit cards weren't good. Now, the fifth thing that I probably should have learned in my 20s and 30s is car payments. I mean, if I could add up all the car payments that I paid in my 20s and 30s, man, that would be an extra $200,000 right now. I had car payments from 1995 until about 2012. That's about 17 years of car payments that could have been funding my future. I had to realize that ultimately in my 40s, I realized that a car is just transportation. I'm just trying to get from point A to point B. I don't have to look a certain way on the way from point A to point B. So a car payment can become really a lifestyle commitment. If you are committed to having a nice looking car and not paying cash for it, Just understand that that's $500, $600, $700 a month that could be funding you in your 50s. It could be getting you a year or two or three or four closer to retirement earlier. So what I had to learn was that monthly car payments is really a replacement for long-term wealth. I know it don't feel like it. It didn't feel like it for me when I was in my 20s and 30s, but that's what, looking back, that's what it really was. Now, a sixth thing that I wish I learned in my 20s and 30s is that real wealth takes time. This whole idea that we can just get wealth quick, get rich fast. I want to be rich when I'm 35 years old because I've been watching so-and-so on IG. That's hogwash, right? What's a better way? That's baloney, right? What's a good way to put that that's nice? It's not real. Wealth is not built because, I get hyped up and I get excited about doing something. Wealth is built on control over a long period, being intentional for decades, right? And stability, financial stability is very, very important. Not get rich quick. Make it happen today, fast. I want to get rich. That's why things like crypto is so appealing to so many, especially young people, because they see it as a way to make a whole bunch of money really fast. Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with crypto. I'm not beating up crypto. I'm just saying real wealth takes time. And it's sometimes when you're in your 20s and 30s, you just don't see it. You don't understand that you're going to be 40 at one point, right? At some point, you're going to be 55. You're going to be 60 years old. And a lot of times we don't see the vision. We don't understand the progress. We don't really see what we're going to become between the ages of 30 and 50. It's the same. Think about it. If you're 35 or 40 years old, just imagine back when you was 20 and 25. The wisdom that you gained from 25 to 35 is the same amount of wisdom that you're going to gain from 35 to 45. We don't see that far in the future when we're 25 and 35 years old. But I'm telling you, the future's coming. What are you going to be when it gets here? Where's your money going to be when it gets here? Right? And that takes me to another thing. Number 7 is this. Boring wins. When it's all said and done, just doing the right, boring, simple things in life and with money in the long run is going to get you further ahead. People don't really understand the power of discipline over time. A disciplined routine for 10 straight years or 15 or 20 straight years, that's going to outperform any type of motivation or any type of hyped up. That's going to outperform getting hyped. Just doing the same right thing over and over and over again. And what happens is you outlast all the people that wanted to get there fast and quick, and they wanted the quick fix and to get rich quick. You're going to outlast all them if you just do the boring things over a long period of time. And that takes me to another one. I think this is number 8, but that is having one source of income is one of the most risky things that you could ever do. And when I say one source of income, most of us just have a job and that's it. A job only for your source of income, relying on a job, man, that's incredibly risky, right? You putting the food that hits your table for you to eat in the hands of one place. And if that one place decides to lay you off or go in a different direction or, something crazy happens on the job, you're done. You got to go rely on another one source of income, another job. That was a huge eye-opener for me early. So when I first started working back in my 20s, I went ahead and got a second job. I advise everybody who's in their 20s and 30s to look for outside sources of income other than just one job. That's huge. That's a big risk. That security, it feels good. It feels like real security when you're right in the middle of a job that's going well, right? But you're depending on one business. And we know about look, the job is going to, if you left the job doesn't care about you. The job doesn't care about the fact that you got to feed a family. The job got one thing on its mind, that's profit. And so you got to have one thing on your mind, that's security. So my suggestion is always look for other ways to have additional income. And if I could tell myself something else different back in my, say, early 20s, that's a big one. Now, another thing I would tell myself is Stop trying to time the stock market. Just go ahead and dollar cost average into the stock market, right? Start early. If you're 19 years old and you're watching this, start investing in the stock market. If you're 25 years old, 30 years old, go ahead and start getting the match at your job and maybe maxing out your 401k. The earlier you start, the better. The earlier you start, the more time you give your money to compound. Compound interest works on time. It don't work on timing the market, trying to pick the next hot stock, trying to make sure that you put a whole bunch of money in the stock. No, it doesn't work like that. Compound interest is time. Time is compound interest. Start with as much as you can as early as possible. That's what I would really tell my 20-year-old self. Because here's what people don't always share. The first dollars that you put in matter more than the last dollars you put in, right? Because the first dollars that you put in your 20s are the ones that's going to be multiplying crazy when you get in your 50s. It's not the dollars that you put in your 40s. They're going to be multiplying, but them dollars you put in a long time ago are going to be going crazy on compound interest. So you got to let the time do the heavy lifting. And here's another one. This is the 10th one. This is a big one that I had to learn. What you decide to buy with your money determines how long you're going to be working. If you decide to buy a whole bunch of stuff early on in your 20s and 30s because you want to look a certain way or because you want to have certain name brands or whatever, then guess what? You're going to be working longer to pay for that stuff that you wanted to buy in your 20s and 30s, right? Most people, let me just say this. Most people don't really choose when they want to retire. What chooses when you retire is the things that you purchase when you're 20 and 30 years old. Think about it. Your spending today is setting up your schedule for tomorrow. What you decide to spend money on right now is setting up when you can, whether you can retire at 52 or 54. It's based on the spending you're doing right now. Let that sink in. Now, the 11th thing is this. You need to, as much as possible, in your 20s and 30s, I'm a witness to this one. You need to make sure that you avoid trying to look the part. Avoid trying to look successful. It's not necessary. You don't have to prove anything to anybody based on your outside appearance. Listen, I'm not saying look raggedy. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is looking successful and actually being successful are two different things. Looking like you have money and actually having money are two different things. Trying to look the part is going to delay actually being the part. Now, the 12th thing is this. Bad debt steals our future choices. I was in bad debt for a long time. Listen, when I say bad debt, I mean debt on things that aren't going up in value. When you have a bunch of bad debt, it's just robbing you of your future. It could be robbing you of a vacation when you're 55 years old. It could be robbing you of retiring at 48 and having to now retire at 55, 60, 70 because you got a bunch of bad debt. One of the first things that I had to realize is that bad debt is keeping me in bondage. That bad debt is keeping me as an indentured servant for somebody else. I'm going to work for the car company. I'm going to work for the credit card company. I'm going to work to put food on somebody else's table because I got a bunch of bad debt that I'm paying $1,000, $1,500 on every single month. So bad debt just wasn't robbing me of my future. It was robbing me really of the ability to say no, right? It was robbing me of the ability to say I'm done working. It was robbing me of the ability of freedom down the road. Now, the 13th thing that I wish I had learned in my 20s and 30s is the importance of valuable skills early. The reason a lot of people that are watching this video make literally $15, $16, $18 an hour, $12 an hour, don't make much money, is because we just don't have the skills. We don't have the valuable, high income paying skills that will give us more money. And let me say this, I don't want to bash anybody, right? But I want to be truthful about the things I wish I had learned in my 20s and 30s. In my 20s and 30s, I would have gotten, if I could go back and do it again, I would have gotten the most valuable skills that I could have gotten back then. And I mean high paying skills, because what I had to learn is that your skills create opportunities for you down the road. Your skills produce choices as you get older. After the hype and the motivation, what you have left is skills. What can you do to add value to somebody else? Either it's going to be a low paying skill, it's going to be an okay paying skill, or it's going to be a high paying skill, a high income skill. And you look at the people that make the most money today, they make the most money today because they have the highest value skill. The highest value skill to the people of the world. If you can develop that at a very early age, you're going to open yourself up for more money, more income down the road. And let me be clear, when I say a high income skill, that has nothing to do with the type of person you are. It has nothing to do with your integrity. It has nothing to do with your value as a human being. I'm talking about the value you bring to the job marketplace, the value you bring to the humans on the planet, the value you bring to people's lives. That's what you got to increase, and you'll get paid for it. Now, number 14 is this, and I wish I knew this in my 20s and 30s. A full emergency fund. My goodness. There's something about having $15, $20, $30, $40,000 of cash that does something different to you. I'm telling you, because I learned this: money that you invest builds wealth, but having some cash in case something goes wrong or when something goes wrong builds peace. And ain't nothing better with money and your personal finances than peace. It's cool to have $100,000 invested, but having 6 months of your emergency money sitting on the side when the tires go out, or when you need a new transmission, or when you got something that goes wrong and you got to pay for it immediately, man, having some cash on the side it just makes you feel better, makes you sleep better at night. It makes everything smoother in terms of stress, much less stress when you got some cash. When you have cash as an emergency that you can reach, I mean, think about it. It changes the decisions you make. It changes the way you walk into a store. It changes the way you walk. It gives you confidence because you know that if something or when something goes wrong, you can cover it. And I didn't really build out my full emergency fund till I was 40, right? Yeah, I'm 55 now, but when I was 40 and I finally got that full emergency fund, things just felt different. That's all I'm saying. If you could build that up early when you're in your 20s and 30s, you'll make different choices with your money that'll lead to a better life, a less stressful life. Now, the 15th thing that I wish I knew back in my 20s and 30s and why I wanted you to watch this video is simply this. Little bitty decisions that you make in your 20s and 30s can compound into huge decisions in life or with money. They may feel like a small decision, but they're big decisions. Everything, the last 14 things I gave you in this video, they may feel kind of small right now in your 20s and 30s, but they compound. Most people, not everybody, but most people, they don't ruin their financial life with one decision in one moment. Usually, in terms of finances, people ruin their financial life down the road in their 50s with a series of small decisions in their 20s and 30s. It could be small daily habits that you choose to do, or small daily habits that you choose not to do that don't show up until your late 40s or into your 50s. And that little small decision in your 20s and 30s ultimately becomes your future reality if you're not careful. Look, those are the 15 things that I really wanted you to watch this video for, especially if you're in your 20s and your 30s. If you got value from this quick video, do me a favor and just share this video with somebody who you care about. Share the video with somebody who you really want to hear this information. Look, I say it all the time, but I mean it. The absolute best person who's going to take care of the old you, the you in your 50s, the you in your 60s, The absolute best person who's going to put food on the table, who's going to pay your rent or pay your mortgage or pay for that 6 months in Hawaii when you get to be in your 50s and 60s. The best person who's going to do that for you is the young you. It's the you in your 20s that's going to take care of you in your 40s. It's the you in your 30s that's going to take care of you in your 50s and 60s. Guys, if you want to learn more about the income streams beyond my job that I picked up after age 40, do yourself a favor and check out this video right here next. Peace.